Hi, everybody. This is Chaya Parkoff, licensed clinical social worker and a educator at the Jewish Experience in Denver, Colorado. And it is January 31st, 2020, Parshat Bo. And I wanted to speak about the ninth plague of Choshech, darkness. Just a little idea about darkness. So the Egyptians were, Moses was instructed to go into the heavens, above the heavens, and bring down this plague of darkness, which the sages tell us was such intense darkness. It was the worst, up until now, the worst plague that the Egyptians had experienced, because they couldn't even move. And the language is even that they couldn't even see their brother. They couldn't see anybody. They felt they were completely isolated, each person. If you were sitting, you were stuck sitting. If you were standing, you were stuck standing. You couldn't move. You couldn't rise from wherever you were. You couldn't rise from wherever you were, and you couldn't see your brother. That is terrifying, to be alone in that darkness, to feel so alone that they couldn't even rise above it. There was no way. Why? Because they couldn't see their brother. They couldn't connect with each other. This was part of what made this such a difficult plague for them. Now, the same energy, the very same energy that came down, that brought an experience of darkness to the Egyptians, the Torah tells us brought light to the Jews, that the Jews were with each other experiencing light. And I think that teaches us something about the experience of darkness, that when we feel alone, when we can't connect with people, whether that's an individual darkness when someone is feeling depressed, or whether it's as a people, when people feel totally that they can't get out from where they are, as opposed to light from being together. So I think that this week in particular, this past week, really spoke to me about this idea of the very same energy that brought darkness to the Egyptians brought light to the Jews. The very same energy that brings darkness from a circumstance, we can actually take that energy and transcend it into light. And I think last week, the beginning of this week, when basketball player Kobe Bryant, who was really a mensch, he was really a mensch. He did some things that, when he did something that wasn't right, there was an incident that was very publicized. He made it right and then lived his life differently. And that is the true definition of a mensch. The Torah does not expect us to be perfect, but it does expect us to man up or woman up when we make a mistake, and make amends and go forth and do right and become better and better. That's the whole idea of tshuva. So this darkness that overcame really the world when everyone learned of his death, I think on Sunday, also brought a lot of light to the world. And I can tell you, I don't usually watch the Academy Awards and the Grammys. I try to watch. I enjoy watching aspects of it, but a lot of it is just, it's kind of reached a level where, like, you can't have your kids watch it. And so I don't always watch it. But I was visiting my mom in Florida, and we were watching the Grammys. And as a result of that tragedy, there was such an energy in the Grammys. It elevated the Grammys. It created this bond. There was very little talk that made people feel disconnected from each other. There was very little talk about how different we are from each other. And instead, the talk was more about this commonality, this feeling together, this needing each other. And I think that's what the Torah is teaching us. One of the messages, one of the many messages of darkness versus light, the very same energy that brought the darkness that was experienced as dark by the Egyptians because of the mindset they were in, was experienced as light for the Jews because of the mindset they were in. And particularly when it talks about the light in the Jewish homes, The sages tell us that the Jews were together, and they were able to be together, and that is what brings light, when we come together. And we've seen that in families, when families come together. I work with families all the time in very, very difficult times. And when people come together, there's such light that can transform years of darkness. As a Jewish people, we know that unfortunately, when tragedy strikes, that's when we stick together. And I think as a world. So that is one of the many, many lessons that we can take from this precious Torah of ours. And to truly experience the light, the Torah is the light. And to really experience it, you need to learn it and learn and learn and learn. There's so much to learn. There's always something new and fresh. And that's what we do at the Jewish Experience. And I hope to see you all tomorrow night after Shabbat at the Wine and Cheese. And if you haven't registered yet, please go to the website, www.theje.com, and register for our Wine and Cheese event. It's going to be amazing. And there'll be a lot of light because we'll all be together. Shabbat Shalom.